camera. We're live, but it's going to be camera. Really? Interesting. It's not done that before.
Yep, mine's on.
All right. All right, the meeting has begun for March 25th, 2024 at 7:01 p.m. May I get roll call?
Mayor Candace Machado.
Here.
Councilmember Deja Edwards.
Here.
Councilmember Greg Festig.
Here.
Councilmember Phil Berkey asked to be excused today. Chief of Police Mike Thompson. Fire Chief Leo Balsam. Public Works Director Robert Llewellyn. Town Attorney Scott Murray.
Here.
Town Clerk Janelle Underwood, and then the rest of citizens. I cannot talk too much.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the approval of agenda. One consent agenda, approval of minutes for regular meeting March 11th, 2024. Thank you, Janelle. If I can get approval of the agenda for March 11th, 2024. March 25th, 2024. Thank you for holding me accountable today.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Now I'm all discombobulated, Janelle. All right. All right. Number one, consent agenda. Approval of minutes for regular meeting March 11th, 2024. And approval of business licenses East Penn, Pinnacle Plumbing, and Ramshorn Construction.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Police Chief Mike Thompson, and officer introduction.
Good evening, council, citizens. New officer to be sworn in. Tonight, we have the pleasure of swearing in a new officer to serve the community. And as tradition holds it, I do have a little swear-in speech I like to present for each officer. Last time was when Investigator Marin was here. So a little history. Police officers are an ever-present force in our lives. They serve as a crucial link between the community and the law. Their role is to ensure public safety and maintain order in our society by providing protection, preventing crime, and enforcing the law with great discretion. The form officers today took hundreds of years to perfect. Policing has been dated back to 3000 BC. The word police comes from ancient Greek word polis, meaning city. Before that, the first policing organization began in Egypt when the pharaohs appointed officials to oversee and enforce justice, security in each of the jurisdictions of Egypt. In America, Boston was the first U.S. city to establish a night watchman, bringing law enforcement to our shores in about 1631. Tonight, we're swearing in a new officer to serve our community. The first police badges were the coat of arms worn by knights in Europe, which identified his allegiance to justice. Badges today are worn over the heart to symbolize the pledge taken by individuals to serve with pride and integrity, and is a symbol of authority granted by taking the oath of office that we'll administer shortly. After America became a country, badges were adopted by larger departments, and officers out west began to use metal from either tin cans or silver coins to make the badges worn. The star badge was easiest to make than the circles or shields in his story. Evansville played a pivotal role in American history with our westerly expansion, having the first bridge across the North Platte River. And most small communities back in the day had what they call a town marshal. As this badge is placed upon the chest of our law enforcement officers, it represents our past and the role it played in our great country and community, as well as the many lawmen that have served before them. Each point, so in our community, we use a 7-point star. And so each point represents the 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit: virtue, divinity, fortitude, prudence, honor, and glory, and praising of God for those who are religious. The 7-point star dates back to the Anglo-Saxon England, where they were made of brass, metal, or any other material that could be highly polished and visible by moonlight. Religious or not, the 7 gifts represent service to humanity, to which these officers are about to do for our community. On both the badge and on our patch, we have the magnificent colors of our nation and our state's flag. In our nation's flag, Old Glory is commonly referred to, the color of white is for purity and innocence. Red is for hardiness and valor, and blue is the color of the chief, which signifies vigilance, preservance, and justice. Our Wyoming flag, as it proudly waves in our Wyoming wind, has the same colors as Old Glory. Blue represents the open skies of Wyoming, big mountains, and the traits of justice, virality, and fidelity. Red is the symbol of blood shed by the pioneers, and white is the color of purity. It is important for these new officers and the community to remember our past and what it means when you take the oath to protect our community, the state, and the nation. The uniform you are about to wear is as symbolic as everything our nation was founded on. The blood shed for our freedoms and everything that law enforcement should be in the performance of your duties. As you go forward from this day, once you have taken the oath, you will have a great responsibility placed upon your shoulders as you start down this new trail in your life. Remember the 4 qualities of a good officer: humanity, integrity, professionalism, and courage. Mayor, council, and community, I present to you Kyler Severson to be sworn tonight as a new police officer. The floor is yours, sir. And ma'am. Right there in the back. There you go. And I'll take over. Tyler Severson, do solemnly swear that I will support, uphold, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the law of the state of Wyoming, and the ordinances of the town of Wyoming, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of police officer with fidelity, to the best of my knowledge and ability, and that I have not paid or promised to pay or contribute, either directly or indirectly, any money or other valuable things to procure my appointment or election, except necessary and proper expenses expressly authorized by law. That I have not knowingly violated any election law of the state or procure if it is done by other than mine. That I will not knowingly receive directly or indirectly any money or any other valuable thing for the performance or non-performance of any act of duty pertaining to my office other than the compensation allowed by law, so help me God. you sit down, has something for you.
Many of you may know or not know that Kyler started on the fire side before he went to the law enforcement side. So we decided to present him with a crime fighter pastry, otherwise known as a donut. And I think Chief Thompson, I think I heard this right, after consuming a half a dozen to a dozen donuts, that individual is instilled with superhuman crime fighting skills. But we didn't want Kyler to OD on greatness. So we got you one with sprinkles. Guys from A Shift wish you the very best.
Sir, we look forward to seeing great things. All right. All right. Number 3, authorization for mayor to execute grant agreement, Homeland Security, FEMA.
Mayor and Council, brought before you tonight is a grant award agreement between Wyoming Office of Homeland Security and the town of Evansville. This is a grant award agreement for federal assistance coordinated through the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency through the Robert T. Stafford Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Act, 42 USC, Chapter 5121 through 5207, and related authorities, here referred to as the Stafford Act Public Assistance Program. This is the grant agreement that I'm asking for authorization for the mayor to execute tonight that will help fund the town of Evansville for the damages from the June 15th, 2023 flood.
I'll make a motion to approve the authorization for the mayor to execute grant agreement with Homeland Security, FEMA.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Do we have any discussion? Thoughts? Questions? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, health insurance renewal 2024 to 2025. Ma'am?
Thank you.
Okay, okay.
Dear, I went ahead and yeah.
Okay.
Janelle, do we need to go and fill one? Do we need to grab an extra one?
I
Okay, we got it. Okay.
and I emailed this out to everybody
Okay, great.
Thank you for having me, Mayor and Council. I'm Melissa Bilby with HUB. I'm acting as the consultant for the town of Evansville regarding the health benefit package. And so we've looked through the renewal, we've discussed a few things, and we wanted to come before council and kind of go through the process and what we're looking at for this next year. We have some funding options available. But we also want to talk about claims and how it affects your benefit package. The first thing I want to talk about when we go out to market and we look at your plan benefits, there's a couple of different markets we can look at. We have fully insured markets in the state of Wyoming. Those consist of Blue Cross Blue Shield, Signature, Medical, Mountain Health Co-op, and United Healthcare. These options are options that are governed by the Affordable Care Act. You don't have to answer health questions. They accept you with no medical history involved. They also are some of the most expensive programs that we have in our state today. So we did go to there. We did look at those. They were much higher than what we've received from Cigna on the renewal this year. We also have available level funded options. That is the option we have currently with Cigna today. What that means is you basically pay a premium. That premium is split into presented is split into a bucket of administration and stop loss coverage over and above a specific deductible, and then a claims bucket where those claims are paid out of. Those markets that we looked at for you were Aetna, Allstate, American Trust, Cigna, which you currently have, Trustmark, and United Healthcare total funded options. All of these options, and then also WHAM's not on here, but we actually looked at all of these available markets for your benefit plan this year. You do have to answer health questions and go through underwriting and be approved for any of these type of programs available. Okay. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. And then before we talk about your renewal itself and the claims, currently, some health statistics that we wanted to share tonight are the average deductibles in Wyoming. For a single individual today, they start around $2,500 to $3,250 for a single individual. That's the average individual deductible in our state. And that's for firms up to around 50 employees or less, which you would fit in that category. We also have the average out-of-pocket around $6,115 for your size of group, with the exchange and fully insured plans being at $9,450. And the reason I bring this up is because we look at your plan design every year. We talk about your plan design and how rich the plans that you offer are. And I think it's important for us to keep in mind of what the other plan designs out there are. And that the plans that you're offering for your employees are amazing. They're over and above most of the plans I work for and the clients I work for throughout the state of Wyoming. With inflation this year, with the medical inflation and the premium inflation, we're at about 8% in the state of Wyoming. So that's the average for 2024. On average for contributions, employees are contributing around 20% of the premium in our state, and the employers are contributing about 80%, and that's for employee-only coverage. Most plans do not pay anything for family coverage. So we're talking about that because you do contribute towards some of the family premiums. We made some adjustments last year, your plan design to allow that. And then also what's kind of driving some of our costs are prescription drugs. Prescription drug costs, there's biologics that are hitting the market. We had one at 4.25 million hit the market the other day. I had 4 that hit the market over $2 million this last year. So when we get into those rare genetic diseases, we're seeing really, really high cost in treating those conditions. So we're obviously, you don't have that on your plan, you don't have any claims like that, but you do have some claims that are affecting and driving the cost. So I did kind of a history page. This is basically what we call post-open enrollment analysis because it goes back to 2019. So that's when you started with Cigna from Blue Cross. And so you were on a $25,000 specific deductible, which you still are today on the level funded, at a 50% surplus contract. At the time, we saved $137,735. And in 2022, we had a pretty large claims year. We're extremely high. The loss ratio was 150% over the maximum that was paid in. And that means stop loss claims were paid over the specific of $250,000, 539. In 2021, we incurred a 15.1%. We also did some adjustment on plan designs and offered 2 dual plans. The loss ratio on the plan that year for claims was 168%. So claims over your specific deductibles were 113,510 that year. In 2022, your loss ratio was 98%, a little bit better here, but claims over the specific were still pretty high. So that means the carrier paid out $161,441 over the specific deductible. In 23, we had a 13.9% increase. The claims were not too bad, 115% loss ratio, still over the 100% mark. Your claims over the specific were 71,126, and that was for a short plan year. because that's the year we adjusted the renewal dates. So for the budget, you could get ahead of the game and know what to budget. So that was for a 9-month period. This year, 2024, we're looking at, it started at a 19 to 20% increase. We got it to negotiated to a 16% increase. You're running at 178% loss ratio over on your claims, with the claims over the specific of 208,291. So we're gonna make some recommendations and take a look at that tonight on these spreadsheets. One more thing that we wanted to talk about, we broke down your large claims for the last 3 years. So total paid claims in 21 to 22 were $394,036, sharing in that cost. And then you had 4 large claimants that went over the specific deductible of $25,000 that year. In 2022 to 23, you had 5 large claimants over the $25,000 limit at a total paid claims of $283,722. And then this year, we have 4 large claimants, 23 to 24 of $468,812.46 so far. So the town of Evansville had 160,521 in claims so far this year, under the 25,000 threshold for all other members. So while the 308, y'all paid 100,000 of the 468,000 in specific deductibles, and Cigna paid the 208, but the 160,000 were all small claims under the 25,000 specific deductible that the town incurred. So I wanted to just share that because we talk about these other plans going out to bid and market, but if you look at the list of prescriptions here, the list of prescriptions that are listed, the drug name and the conditions, this tells us a story about what's going on within your group. So basically, if we were to answer health statements today, these conditions would show up as marked yes on those health statements. So to go through an underwriting process for another level funded plan does not seem to be a good idea at this time, because we don't believe the approval would go through. This market listing on the next page shows you who we went to. You'll see the fully insured carriers. We did a dual plan with United Healthcare. Fully insured was 33% higher. They declined to quote on level funded due to they don't do municipalities. Mountain Health Co-op was a fully insured plan. It was 22% higher. Associated Employers was 21% higher. Trustmark had a 5% decrease, but the single plan was 11% decrease. But you would have to answer health statements to be approved for that plan. American Trust, they declined. Allstate, no response. Aetna declined to quote due to medical condition. And then Cigna is your renewal. And you'll see the spreadsheets on the next 2 pages. So the first 2 columns is your current plan and your current cost. So currently, if we were to keep the 2 plans, you have a $750 deductible. On the first plan for single, $1,500 for family with the 80/20 coinsurance. The maximum out of pocket on that plan is $2,250 for a single individual and $4,500 for family. The reason, and it has office visit copays, so you don't have to meet the deductible to actually use the plan. And then you have a prescription drug card as well. The reason I point this out is the out-of-pockets are actually even lower than what the average deductible is in our state. So that is a very rich plan. You have done a wonderful job at keeping that plan for your participants. The second plan that they have to choose from, the dual plan option, is a $2,000 deductible, $4,000 for family, 80% coinsurance, and it has a $4,000 individual out of pocket with $88,000 for family. It also has office visit copays, so you don't have to meet the deductible to actually utilize the plan. And it has a prescription drug copay. So those are the two plan options that we've been looking at. So to keep that plan exactly the same, the renewal is a 20% increase overall. Okay, so to keep both plans in play, that would be what the increase would be. We appealed the increase and we got it to 16%. So basically, we started here, we ended up here, just negotiations with the carrier. So if you keep both plans exactly the same, it's a 16% increase overall for the town. We did run one option to move employees to a $2,000 deductible, put everybody on the higher deductible plan. But after further discussion, we talked about that really limits your employees. They don't have a choice then. It's kind of like, okay, well, you're just going to this plan and we're not giving them a better option. So when we visited, we felt like even though it saved only 5% to put everybody on the $2,000 deductible, we really made a recommendation to leave that choice to the employees. And so if you look, we did some contribution modeling. So on the next page, the top two are basically your current contributions. So if that's what you're paying now, and you'll see the total annual for employer cost and the employee cost that they're contributing, and that's adding both plans together. If we were to leave the contributions exactly, or the percentages exactly the same, not the contributions, but the percentages for the contributions, and just plug in the new rates, that would be this next option. So basically it's saying we're going to share in the cost just like we are now, and this would be what it would be for us to do that. That basically increases the employer cost from $413,670 to $454 for employer. For employees would go from $92,587 to $108,738 for the year. We actually thought, well, if we're going to do that, we should look at shifting more of the cost to the low deductible plan and say, if the employees want to pay more, leave the contributions the same for the $2,000 deductible as they are today, and you absorb the increase on that plan, but shift that additional premium if they want to buy the richer plan. So we did two different options. We did shifting 10% of the cost. So right now they're at 95%. It would go to 85%. And so that would shift the cost over here. And so the town would go to $447,733. The employee cost based off of enrollment, as long as everybody enrolled in the same plans, it would go to $139,000 for the employee cost. And then they would still have the option, though, to make that election themselves. And we leave the contributions exactly the same on the amount of what they're paying now on the $2,000 deductible. So that would be one recommendation. The next recommendation would be only shift 5% of that cost to them and leave the other plan the same, contributions paid now. That would mean the town would incur and go to $463,640, and the employee cost would go to $123,172. So those are kind of the recommendations on the table tonight for you guys to make a decision to say, hey, what do we really want to do? What is our goal here? Is it to give options and allow the employees to make that decision? Obviously, to have the benefit package of a $750 deductible today, I don't believe I have one other insured in the state of Wyoming that has that deductible. All of the deductibles are well over $1,000 or $1,500 today. So, but you guys have done a fantastic job at trying to give and still allow them to have that plan. So,
When we initially talked, the biggest topic on the board was making sure that we're not taking away choice from the town employees and making sure that they can have that voice and they can have that choice. And I think that that was a part of the discussion that we had in terms of being able to keep the low deductible as an option along with a little bit of a higher deductible as an option and putting it back on each employee to get to choose whether what they wanted to do to make sure that we're not taking away anybody's voices, but they get to decide. And so just to clarify that discussion, that path of direction was making sure that they had options, but that the entirety of the plan wasn't going to effectively change other than they had an option on the deductible, whether it was 750 with a percentage increase or the 2,000.
Yeah, and that's what you'll see here on option 1 and 2. So, I mean, I put the recommendation on here basically is to increase the premiums on the low deductible plan, keep the same deductions on the 2,000, but leave the choice up to the employees when they make their elections. So that would be my recommendation, but that's really up to you guys to make that. I'm just here to share the information.
Do you guys have questions, thoughts? Because I want to make sure everybody gets all their questions and thoughts out on this.
Approximately how many participate in the low deductible plan within the town of Evansville?
Right now,
11. Thank you.
And I think a part of like the discussion that we had, because that's a great question, because I had the same exact question in that meeting, was we didn't want to, even though the number was 11 employees, we didn't want to take those 11 employees' voices and choices away from them getting to determine what's best for their family and for themselves.
And, you know, the premiums, to be honest, the contributions have been so, I mean, so good on both plans that we didn't see a big shift. What we did is we, you know, I think it was, you know, some of the more were willing to pay a little bit more and stay on the better plan. And I think that's the choice that's wanted to do. They're going to do that now, but probably going to do that, you know, going forward, so that it still gives them that option. So right now, we're 22 on the 70. And the good thing is that renewal, they have the choice when you go through the admin system, online enrollment portal, they can actually see what the cost is going to be per paycheck, and it actually gives them options to make those selections ahead of time. So we input the actual deductions and contributions in there so that they'll know how that's going to affect them, and then they can make that decision so they can change the plans during the month.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but when we were talking this out that day, you had also talked about that there were additional new things as well that would be included, correct?
Yeah, and so, you know, we actually talked about a wellness program that we're gonna roll out, and actually Janelle will get signed up for Choose Well. We'll be getting newsletters from Choose Well, basically how to become healthier, different programs you can participate in, and then online tools that they can use, and that'll be on a quarterly basis. You get a monthly newsletter, but you'll get it, have challenges if you want to set them up quarterly, and we can give incentives. Now, that's something that the board can decide if they want to incentivize that participation in those programs. The other thing is, we will roll out minimal HR, or brand new HR service, basically, so that you have all of that information at your fingertips, along with, you can chat with a legal representative if there's a question that you need help. And then you can also do your employee handbooks, so they can customize those in here. And these are at no cost, added services for the town of Evansville. So those are automatically going to be installed, and it allows them to, and it gets legislative updates and everything through those HR programs. So that'll be an added tool for their services.
And again, that's not an extra added cost to the town employees, just to clarify. Okay.
And, the dental insurance, we did not have an increase in dental. We did have a slight increase in the vision, but we went to market on the voluntary vision lease. Direct with BSB, almost doubles your premium. And then with Beam, it was just a little bit higher than what we were actually getting with standard BSB. So I think $5.80 for an employee went to $6.32. And that's a voluntary benefit that the employees pay for themselves. We also didn't have a rate increase on the life insurance or the short-term disability insurance. We are proposing a slight increase in consulting fees. We actually lowered those right during COVID for the town, just because a lot of people were going through a lot of different budgeting things. So we're actually proposing that we move those back up to where they were at $7,000 a year. So that's all I have.
Additional questions, thoughts? So then, Janelle, correct me if I'm wrong, but and Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, both of you. So we have to select the option tonight.
Yes,
Council does.
Open enrollment is the month of April with an effective date of May 1.
Okay.
There's the one like option 2 on the second page that seems equitable. Modest increase for both the employer and employee. Puts them 90% for employee. I could get behind that and support that.
And that's for the two options.
Second page, 2 options.
Second option 2, so it'd be increasing the percentage from 95% to 9
Yep.
for the $750. And leaving the other contributions.
Do I have a second?
I have a motion to approve option 2.
Do I have a second? Daisha, do you have questions? Or thoughts? So option 2, correct me if I'm wrong, option 2, everything stays the same on the plan. The only difference is we're giving the employees a choice between the $750 deductible and the $2,000 deductible,
Okay.
with a slight increase if they decide to choose the $750 deductible. There is a slight increase.
And so what's the difference between option, like for the option 1, and which was the recommended one?
Option 1 will be passing on a 10% difference to the employee instead of a 5%.
Okay.
But it keeps both plans still available.
Okay. I will second Greg's motion.
For
Option 2.
any discussion? Further discussion? All those in favor?
I
Motion passes.
For having
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Next agenda item. We good? Okay. Awesome. Okay. I was like, wait, did somebody talk? Okay. Council updates. Huh? If I so wish, yes. And I think, and Janelle, we're live. We're still live. Yeah. Yeah. Daisha's got it up on her thing. Okay, so for council updates, I'm going to read this. Mayor's Proclamation, Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month. Whereas children are our future, no child should suffer abuse and neglect, And whereas victims of child abuse and neglect are known to be at higher risk for experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, low academic achievement, drug use, juvenile delinquency, teenage pregnancy, and adult criminality, every child is precious and deserves to grow up in a healthy, safe, nurturing environment free from harmful effects of abuse and neglect. And whereas an estimated 800 children in Wyoming are victims of abuse and neglect each year. And whereas effective child abuse intervention and community prevention programs succeed because of partnerships created among community members, social services, and law enforcement agencies, schools, churches, businesses, and civic organizations. And whereas each April, Child Advocacy Centers of Wyoming, the Children's Trust Fund Board, Prevent Child Abuse Wyoming, Wyoming Citizen Review Panel, the Wyoming Department of Family Services, the Wyoming Office of Attorney General, Division of Victim Services, the Wyoming GAL program, the city and the town of Evansville, Wyoming, and other partners join together in an effort to prevent abuse, neglect, through outreach, education, and intervention. Now, therefore, I state my name, Candace Machado, Mayor of the town of Evansville, by virtue of the authority vested in me as Mayor of the city of Evansville, or town of Evansville, Wyoming, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2024 as Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the official seal of the city of Evansville, town of Evansville, to be affixed this 25th day of 2024, 25th day of March, 2024. Yes. Okay. Anything additional? Okay. All right. And I just sign. Okay. Just double checking. Okay, great. Like, hold on, I got to fill this whole thing out. Okay. Additional council updates.
I have none.
The only update I have is that since the past meeting that we had, the issue at the dog park that had come about being there, a lot of feces had been rectified, so I know that that had been taken care of and checked off with Robert and Public Works.
And just to clarify, you had also been down to the dog park and you had spent your volunteer time to clean up the dog park, correct?
I did.
Okay. And I myself have also been down to the dog park as well, to check things out as well so that we can keep our due diligence at keeping up on what needs to be looked after. So, Miss Edwards, thank you for going out there and cleaning up the dog park and stepping in. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much. Citizen involvement is very important.
Yes. And I'm sure that our Public Works Department also equally is thankful as well. Yes. Janelle, am I missing anything? Wonderful. Public comments. Do we have any public comments this evening from anyone? Yes, sir. Come on up. Can you go ahead and state your name and your address?
My name is Brett Donor. I know a few. here with fire chiefs. I'm really here to talk to you, Mr. Mayor. I did, last time I was here, I was talking to the difference in the police departments in the state of Wyoming. All the difference in the number of police officers we have.
Yep, I remember that
I
discussion.
actually did support a request about your police departments. You guys realize our number. It's 85,000 dollars a year for your police department. 1.5. 40 hours, I know everything about, you don't have to talk very much about that. It's a lot, big. I'm here to, I have tried from her to get FOIA requests, I had to go to the Attorney General. This man right here told her that it's not a legal document. That is 100% incorrect. You are paid for this. I'm just saying, like, I don't know what's going on. I have videotapes of so many. This officer right back here told me he will do whatever the fuck he wants. Quoted, that's a quote. I will do whatever the fuck I want when I question him about why he's driving 70 miles an hour down Main Street and shutting his lights off. And guess what the other officer said? Protocol. 2:00 in the morning, the bars were getting out. People are walking in the streets. And these guys are driving 70 miles an hour down Main Street and shutting off their emergency lights. You cannot drive a police car. And everything has to be by the law unless you have those lights and sirens on. I have so many malfeasance from his police department. The reason I invite on her resident is so terrible to win. I would really like to set up a meeting with you, Mayor, and just show you everything I found.
So I guess my first question is, what are you specifically asking for besides the setup
really-
meeting with me?
I would have.
What are you wanting?
Chief of police is appointed position. Contrary to what the chief said earlier, 521 police departments shut down in the last few years because they're such a liability. It's an unnecessary liability.
So what exactly are you asking for?
I'm asking you, you can appoint, you're the mayor. This doesn't have to be your chief, and this doesn't have to be your police department. The police department, everybody falls under you. I've been on the phone with my lawyer prior to getting here, and I am looking into the state of Wyoming, whether this way is even allowed to swear people in.
And just to clarify, sir, before we even stepped foot into this council meeting, I checked the Evansville ordinances that Janelle Underwood is allowed to swear in.
Was that set in bylaws?
That's in the ordinances, in our current ordinances in
And I
Evansville. And if
I
you'd like
have
a
my lawyers
copy of that, I
looking
can
in
get
the
that
exact
to you.
same, because every other place is, it's either a judge or a mayor that can sign people into the city.
In the town of Evansville, she
Okay,
is allowed to
and
do
I'm
that.
okay with that. But what I'm asking you is Evansville is a declining population. It has been declining, not increasing. So why is the police force increasing? And I implore each one of you guys to go sit in a set of handcuffs in these new cop cars I just bought. Sit there for 5 minutes.
I've been in one.
Yeah, you can't get a 2-year-old in the back of those goddamn cars, but yet go sit in the back of a cop car cuffed up. These are our own citizens. We lost the war on drugs. Policing in America has never worked. But what I am imploring you to do, look at all the more things you can do with that money. Instead of just putting the money into the police department and hurting people and sending them away to jail, and so other taxpayers just have to flip the bill, realistically look into what the liability of a police department is, what it sets your city up for, and what can happen to you. I don't even know if this is true, and I haven't been able to corroborate. I honestly have heard that they don't even pass their psychological assessment test, and then they get coached on it.
I can attest to that.
I already have 3 sources that are willing to go on the record. That is true.
And sir, I can actually tell you that that's not true.
How do you know you're the brand new mayor?
Sir,
Mhm.
I have been on this board for almost 4 years now. I have been on the interview panel for the police departments in this town. I am privy to that information that is happening, and I can actually look you in the eye and attest to the fact that that is happening in the town of Evansville.
Okay. I'm just saying, yeah, like everything has to be coordinated, and I understand there is, but if you really look at the logistics of your city, I asked this guy if you have H2S monitors next to the Sinclair fence, and he told me, quote again, everybody in the state of Wyoming knows what H2S is. Everybody. Do you guys know what H2S is? It's one of the deadliest gases known to mankind, and it's produced over there. And if the wind blows from the east, which he told me the wind never blows from the east, here is my problem with the chief. When there was the shootout up here, when they shot up this house and tore it down to the ground and everything, they cordons off a 3/4 city block. When they were shooting the guns, I drove down Curtis Street straight up. It wasn't even closed. He told me that he knew every caliber of gun that was being fired, and no bullet could interfere with any, even though it was 2 blocks, right? 2 blocks to the south that was there. I'm over in the back hearing it. A 22 can go over a mile, and he tells me a 243 isn't going to hit somebody. Like, that's my problem with the chief. Like, to be honest, that's my problem. When I come to him with a concern like that, like, yeah, did you feel like you protected? The only thing Evansville was in control of that night was the perimeter. That's what they said was the perimeter. So I'm just imploring you, look into the police departments, look in America, what they're doing. It is the biggest waste of money, and it sets you guys up for failure. I mean, everything. New streets. Then you have to, they won't even insure police departments in the U.S. anymore. They won't insure them because they're such a terrible. And we always say officer safety. It's the 23rd most dangerous job in the U.S. If you really want to be scared for people, be scared for roofers. Most dangerous job in the U.S. But they don't say roofer safety, roofer safety. That's all I have.
So I do want to comment for a second, just to clarify, because I'm a clarifying person, I'm not an emotionally reactive person whatsoever. So what I hear you saying is that you would like to have a sit-down meeting with me, where I will ask you to bring research and anything additional to that meeting, if we are gonna go that direction, because I will not go on. Sir, can I finish?
Yep.
Thank you. Respect for respect, right?
Absolutely.
When we have this sit-down meeting, if that's what you are requesting, that is fine, but I will ask for you to bring actual research that you can provide to me of everything that you're saying. Now, I will say that some of the things that you did say about the psychological evaluations and additional things, that is not accurate, because again, I have been on this board for almost 4 years, and I have been a part of several conversations specifically that are to public knowledge and conversations that are not public knowledge. So, and I have seen the documentation, and I have seen all of the extra things behind the scenes in regards to that, as some of our council members have been on long enough for some of this stuff as well. Also, to clarify, you are wanting us or suggesting that as a council, that we look into some of these concerns that you have about finances, what we're paying the police department,
How they treat.
and how they treat people, correct? Am I missing anything additional?
The only thing I will say is, before I give you anything, I have unpublished.
Sir, just so you're aware that
That's not it.
if you were planning on meeting with me, I'm going to want you to bring research about what you are requesting, and that will be my request, and that will be non-negotiable.
But I completely understand.
Wonderful.
I don't think that you could put it in person to that, so I can make a function. That's the problem. But you're the new mayor. You get the best one.
And sir, I have been a social worker in the state of Wyoming for the last 2 decades, and so I'm very well aware of what's in my purview and what's not in my purview as the mayor of Evansville. So I'm requesting from you to bring to me all of your findings so that
as a council, I can bring to the council your findings so that we can make informed decisions that are not based in emotionality, but that are based in facts. That's why I'm requesting for you to bring your research and your findings.
I haven't been ordered to be frustrated because I don't think
But what I'm asking of you is to bring that stuff to a meeting if you want to have that set up so that I can bring the information to council so that we can be making informed decisions about things that you're requesting.
I honestly think the reasons for these changes was public and published it. And then I said,
Wonderful. I look forward to hearing from you.
To clarify, Brett, I have a question for you. Did you say that you didn't necessarily think that we should have a police department? So who, my question with that is as a parent and having a child who I needed assistance recently from the police department, and there was 2 officers that were able to find the kid. In the event that there is a missing child, who goes and looks for them? Because, well, but that doesn't necessarily happen at 6:45 in the morning. No, they didn't actually. They were able. There it was the police officer and an investigator that were able to find my child, and locate her safely before she got across the interstate. Wow. Well, I would just say that I'm glad that there was officers that were right here in Evansville that were able to find my child instead of having to wait 30 minutes for a sheriff's officer to get here.
Hey, I interject a few words. Another community within our county would be the town of Bar None, and they have some issues not having their own police. They're relying on the sheriff. That should be addressed. And our good friends in Midwest and Edgerton are also experiencing the same thing. But on the other hand, Mr. Hightower in Shoshone, as we know, have a very vibrant police force, paid police force for a town of that size. So can go both ways on that. As far as US 2026 here, that's federally enforced by the state troopers and by the county, by the sheriffs, and by the municipality being us. So that's where it comes from. So that's a matter of opinion. Yeah. What is over police enforcement? Shoshone? Okay. That's fine. Yeah.
I would implore you just to look into what's happening in the United States. And I get what you're saying, I absolutely don't want to. But that's where you get a community together. When you have a community, you're not taking all the taxes and locking up those things. You dump it into community groups where you teach kids at a young age not to use drugs. You teach them, you set up more, you said social. You come from a social work background. Correct. That's the way I am. Compared to with police, they don't talk. They don't talk. And then even every time they lock somebody up.
Yeah, I'm well aware of that. We do pay the county jail fees for that. We need to realize an increase, but with that, it's you mentioned national studies. So as we know, Wyoming does stuff different. Being the rule. Okay. Well, you mentioned earlier. Okay. Okay. All right.
Sir, can we ask you to come back up to the podium because some of our live folks can't hear you?
I'm going to ask one more thing is that I have tried the FOIA request many times for you guys, and now you guys can find another paperwork, which I know you have it downstairs. I don't know if you have it upstairs.
You do.
Okay. There is no love chart. Absolutely. And I know I talked to you about that, but realistically, I'm asking for files, and all you have to do is text things, go through, and just make it. I get that. And there is time involved, but that is another thing you can go directly to the attorney general is if there are love charges. That's it. I think you guys have to.
I'd like to thank you for speaking tonight. Yeah.
And sir, again, if you would like to, you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. If you would like to set up a meeting with me, again, I would go ahead and be open to that. I would just ask that you're bringing factual information in terms of me being able to visually see that so that when I bring that up to the council, that we can be making informed decisions regarding what is being presented to us.
Yeah, I'm going to order it.
Wonderful. I look forward to seeing it.
Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? Public comments? Last call for public comments. All right, public comments are closed.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes at 8:06